Welcome to the Global Citizen Podcast, Garish. How are you doing?
Good, bro. Good. Early in the morning, ready to go.
Yeah, good
Saturday
morning.
morning.
It's approaching midnight here, so it's funny how this time zone works, right?
Yeah, man. That's what it is, right? Global citizen. It's all about
Yeah.
globaling.
Super excited for today's episode, but before I kick into anything, I just want to congratulate you for becoming a father.
Thanks, man.
How does it feel, and how do you feel right now?
It's amazing, man. It's a beautiful feeling. You think about becoming a father one day, but then when you become it, it hits you with so many feelings and emotions all at once, and then you're like, "What do I do with this?" It's hard to process, and then you slowly, it becomes part of your life, becomes part of your daily things, and then you just cannot imagine your life without it. That's
Yeah,
basically what it is. But it's the best feeling ever, you seeing that little human being that you created with you, grow with you, just everything connected to it. It's just very hard to put it in words, man. The feeling. I guess it's very, very life changing altogether.
I think from what I've heard from a lot of people is your perspective changes in life, right? It's just your priorities are very different, and yeah, I think you just grow up as a person. It's very different to, having a kid
Yeah.
before and after.
Your perspective does change, man, overnight. You realize how the center of universe shifts, and your focus really shifts around this new person, and it's all about his comfort, his need, and you basically are just put to the second shelf now. um it's beautiful, man. It's lovely. Yeah.
And honestly, I feel so lucky. I had the pleasure of meeting Kabir as well. He's super cute. So you
Yeah,
guys have
man.
done a really good job. Well done.
Yeah, man. It's good having you over here. Just we actually didn't think you'd ever come before he enters his toddler phase or something because of the distance. But it was good, spending that time, you bonding with him, and he even got familiar to you when you were here. In the mornings and evenings, he was looking for you. So it was good, and it's good to see his personality develop as well. I feel like he's on a very social side with people,
No,
so he's not.
he's very cute. And honestly, you guys as parents are also doing wonderful things. So excited to see what Kabir becomes into because you guys are doing all the good stuff.
Yeah,
Awesome.
man.
So
Hopefully.
seeing you as a dad is obviously something new to me as well because we know each other really well. We've spent a good amount of time together. And, this episode is really special to me in many ways because we've shared a very similar journey. We grew up in the same part of India, and then we both, migrated with our families to New Zealand, spent roughly the same amount of time. We even left New Zealand 2 weeks from each other, and that was the first time we were leaving home together. So I'm keen to draw the parallels in our stories and also to see what was different for you and what were the similarities because there's not many people that you can actually say, oh, we've actually gone through very similar stories. And
Yeah, man.
yeah, it's just I just can't wait to get into the details. So let's jump straight into it actually. And the first thing is the first part of our journey, which is you grew up in Amritsar. Sorry, you were born in Amritsar.
Born
You
up with
grew up in Chandigarh. And what was that journey like for you being in India, being in, heart of Punjab and in the 90s, it was a different world back then. What was that like growing up in Chandigarh?
So I'll probably take it back, man. So I was born in Amritsar in Punjab. That's the capital of Punjab. It's the heart of Punjab, as they like to say it. But basically, when you start to notice things and when your conscious kicks in, at that time I was in Chandigarh. It's Panchkula. It's a tri-city, right? So Panchkula, Mohali, Chandigarh, and but we like to call it Chandigarh as collectively. So by the time you gain your consciousness and you are aware of your surroundings, it was Chandigarh, and it was the 90s. It was slow life. It was the good life, the sectors and the local market and just family over there. So we had moved there. My granddad had built a house there as his retirement thing, and my dad had a job there. Fortunately, it's sort of coincided together. And moving to Chandigarh, I started my schooling over there. The life was beautiful, peaceful, and slow. The 90s life neighborhood, right? And the schooling was fantastic. You go to school, we used to have rickshaw coming outside our house to pick us up before school, man. And it had about like 15, 20 kids on it going to school. And the schools were, your regular schools where the teachers were more stricter than your parents. And the study was like numero uno thing over there, over anything. And the life was good. And, you have friends, and the years pass by, and you're discovering yourself, you're discovering your parents and your surroundings. And before your parents have another plans. And one fine day they come to you and tell you, hey, we're moving to New Zealand. And I look at my dad and I'm like, what? Where is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
In 98, 99, you don't know what New Zealand is. And back then, all you heard about was, America, England, Canada, and
Yeah. I
then
remember Canada was a big one, actually. I remember that.
it was big, and you knew your relatives over there,
Mm.
in America, or even in England, or even in Canada. But then here in New Zealand, you're like, where is it? And the first question I asked my dad was, why? And I don't remember what he told me, but he was like, well, we're moving. And I was like, what language do they speak there? And he's like, English. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have to learn a new language then, because you can still have your grasp on it. And
Yeah.
then we moved to New Zealand, and it was altogether a new arena. I don't even know my feelings back then. We just,
Yeah.
were just so dependent on parents. You move here, and I remember the day we landed. It was December, and it was sunny over here. We'd come from winter back in Northern Hemisphere, and you come as totally opposite. As you know, we have warm Christmas, right? It's altogether
I mean,
different.
that takes a while to get used to that. It's your seasons are all upside down.
All upside down, and when
Yeah.
you come here, you're like, what? You guys in summer? But it's December. How is this possible?
Yeah.
You start to question everything, but it was fine. You see the streets, the road,
Yeah.
the buildings, everything was so different in New Zealand,
Yeah.
and a new
And
experience starts.
I want to explore this whole chapter of, finding out and processing that feeling and moving to New Zealand. But before that, I still want to like get into the more specifics about your life in Chandigarh, right? So I want to really break it down. Life was peaceful. I know what Chandigarh was like in the 90s, it was a great place. But if you
Yeah,
had to pick a couple of memories that are really, really, you cherish them even now, what was
yeah.
it? Was it
I
friends,
think
family, food? What was it?
So obviously there's been back and forth, right? We came from New Zealand, we back to Chandigarh. So this is my life in India or Chandigarh has been split into two parts. So I'll talk about the first part, which is the 90s. And what I remember about that part is, basically coming home from school. And for some reason, I just remember the summer season of it. And you come home, and you have food ready. And there's usually like a cold beverage ready for you. Either it's um, lemonade or
Yeah.
ruafza, as all the
Ruabza, of
Indians know.
course.
Yeah. And then you have cartoons playing on TV, and then you get food given to you on the bed, and then you're eating food while watching TV. And then
What was your favorite cartoon?
it's like very hard to pinpoint one cartoon, but whatever was playing at that moment, I guess it used to start off with Scooby Doo.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo was big. Yes, I used to watch
Well,
that as
Scooby
well.
Doo was massive, and then there was SWAT Cats and
My God, I love
Dexter.
SWAT Cats. Not many people know about SWAT Cats. It was amazing.
SWAT Cats was elite, bro, and there was
It was so
Dexter's
good.
Laboratory. And, what else, man? There were like a couple of cartoons, So we're watching that, and you get food, and then it's like peak hot summer days, and then you have we didn't have ACs back then, and there was coolers running in the sometimes in the afternoon, and after eating food, you used to get sleepy while on the bed, and had that cool breeze blowing in, and then the curtains are drawn out, and then the room kind of becomes,
Those naps were elite, man. They were amazing naps.
and then you
You were
just
just
doze
like
off, and you
KO'd.
Oh, yeah, man. And that was the best part, and that was like an everyday ritual. You come home, eat, watch cartoons, nap. And when you wake up, basically it is evening. You either get woken up by your parents or something else, And when you wake up, it's time to go outside and play because it's evening, and then you hear kids outside, and then someone comes to your home, and then you have doorbells, Indian doorbells
Yeah.
loud as either someone comes home and wakes you up, yo, come, it's time to play, and then
Yeah.
you run outside and you start playing cricket on streets, or you go to the ground. So I think that was one of the best memories. And for some reason, I can just channel in the summer.
Yeah.
in India, you know,
Were you
hot
the kid
summer.
that took your own cricket bat? So you got to
Yeah,
bat
bro.
first, or?
Look, I had my own bat and even the ball as well, but you know, it was one of those. You know, I
The
was
person who
never
bought the
that guy.
bat in our street, the person who bought the bat had basically complete control. They called all the
Yeah,
shots.
you had the rights to
Exactly.
call the
You could
shots, and
bat
you had to be
twice. First ball was a try ball for you all the time. You were always going to bat first.
the try ball. Yes, bro.
Yeah.
You can't forget the street rule, right? The
Street
first ball's
rules.
always try.
Yeah.
If you have the bat, you get to be the captain. It's no questions asked, right? And if you hit the ball in someone's house, it's straight out. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I've broken
and
some windows in my time as well.
and I'm guilty as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
sometimes you won't get the ball back, right? There used to be some, I mean, fair enough. Like as adults, I understand them, but as kids, we
yeah,
just could not understand why are they getting grumpy. We're just trying to play.
bro. Like right now, you're in that phase. You're like, why are you hitting ball at my house? You know, you see kids playing in the smashing.
And
But I
there's
guess
always
we
a grumpy
understand more.
auntie. There's always a
Oh
grumpy
man.
auntie who would just take your ball and that's it. You know, that's it. That's game over.
Well, I don't want to say it too loud, but we had a neighbor. She was a grumpy auntie, and I happened to break her window while playing cricket.
Yeah.
And you know, when you hit the shot and you just stand still there and you see the window shattering down and then you just freeze, bro. Everybody playing with us ran, and it was my bat, and I hit the shot and I just froze there. You know, you're so young, you don't know what happened. And the grumpy auntie came out, and her husband was home as well. Usually never home, he's at work, and he comes out and they start shouting at us, you know, and my dad comes out, you know, and then he's looking at me with those, you know, death
Yeah.
stare, and
That,
I
that's
just,
game over.
that's game over. Yeah, look, collective of all these memories is basically the summertime where you come
Yeah.
home from
It's
school, watch cartoons, you know.
It's interesting you mentioned the summer because, I remember summer more than the winter as well. I think summer we were just more
Yeah,
active, right? We were out a lot playing,
we used to play so much, man.
especially the North Indian summer. That heat wave is something, right? Like
Yeah.
sitting in front of the cooler and getting those water droplets on your face and, having a lemonade. That
Yeah,
was
hot
like, that's
roofs
how
up,
we
bro.
survived. That's how we survived
Yeah,
that heat wave, right? It was just it gets so hot there. And then I
yeah.
think for me, I remember the festivals a lot. So my favorite time used to be around Diwali. And they used to do Ram Leelas. I don't know if you went to see the Ram Leela.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
used to be amazing. Like, the place where we lived, every year they did an amazing Ram Leela. And I still remember that, the 9 days leading up to the Dussehra, I used to love it because I loved being out at night as well. I was very nocturnal. So, everybody would be out, the lights and everything. So again, that's another memory I have
It's like a
along
mega
with
fest,
the,
bro. Diwali is
exactly.
like a mega fest. So that's my second memory that I
Yeah.
remember of my childhood is the time of Diwali. The time leading up to Diwali, a month before, you know, it's
All the
full
sweets.
festivities. You know, your parents are buying sweets and gifts for people, and your house is your streets lit up, the shopping centers are lit up. Everybody's like, you know, in that. It's basically Christmas over here. You know, it's full blown
It's
festivity,
full
but
blown. Yeah.
it's Christmas and steroids. That's what I like to call it. You know.
And I can't believe some of the toys we used to have accessible to us. They were so not safe with the fireworks. And, it's just, I can't believe it. The
Are you
90s
talking about
parenting
toys or
was something
crackers?
else.
You know what toys or crackers? They're two things. They're two things that shouldn't be accessible to kids that young. Bro.
Yeah, it was just, I can't believe it. There used to be this elite firecracker, right? What was, the really loud one, the green one? It used to
Bro,
have
they
a
were called
specific name.
atomic
I think we used
bombs.
to call it, yeah, something like that. We used to call it Alu Bomb.
Alu bomb. Alu bomb.
Alu
There's
Bomb, man.
alu
They were
bombs. There's
lethal. They were
atomic bombs.
lethal. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were lethal.
And then those thin red ones. You
The
know.
red ones, yeah.
Bro, I those shouldn't be accessible to kids. You know, there's a lot of
Nah,
things back in
nah.
90s they were unhinged, and we had access to them. And I don't know how we survived, bro.
I think we
How
have to
we made
consider
it.
ourselves pretty lucky that we made it this far.
Absolutely, man. If you think back right now, the amount of scrutiny that you know everybody has over things the kids use these days and watch or handle, you know, bro, 90s was so unhinged in that aspect,
It
right?
was, yeah.
Like
A lot
no
of things that
phones, no trackers.
existed in the 90s. I mean, you wouldn't get away with it now. It's just like, no way.
Nah, like the basic things now, right? You can text your kids and know their location and everything. For us, like, basically the time to go home was when you see the street lights come up and you're like,
Yeah.
oh crap, it's time to go. Oh bro, it's late. Oh, we're gonna get the beating or we're gonna get the thing. So
And I
yeah,
remember playing
it's
hide and seek during power cuts. Can you believe that?
yes.
On the street at night.
At night. Like it could have been past 9 p.m. and everybody's
It
out on the
was
streets,
like, how was I allowed to be out in the dark?
bro. And your parents are like, you want to go out, you can
Yeah.
go out, play. Just don't bother me. And you were
I was
outside
just,
at 9, 10 p.m.
I was crazy. Well, it's interesting. Like, it's very similar stories, very similar childhood, similar fond
Yeah.
memories. So that's quite interesting to know. What was your favorite food like growing up around that phase? Something that you
Bro,
just could
there's
not say
there's
no
only
to.
one favorite food of North Indian person
Yeah.
growing up, and it's a Rajma Chawal.
Oh, of course, Rajma Chawal. Yeah.
Any day, bro. That is favorite for anybody, man. If it's not, then I don't know you.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, Rajma Chawal, I think I loved it for lunch. That was probably one of my favorite
Yeah,
lunches.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And also Kadi
Absolutely.
Chawal, right? Rajma Chawal and Kadi
Oh
Chawal. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's just,
yeah, yeah.
you can't go
Any
wrong
day
with that.
you'd, bro. Yeah, it's too good. It was just, it was perfect, and I think it was like a North Indian, like a Punjabi thing.
Yeah.
Rajma chawal was big. It sometimes it only got made when guests used to come over, or
Yeah.
like once every 3 weeks, and it was special.
It was
It was very
special. Yeah.
special, and I used to just have that for lunch, dinner, and next then I used to get like shoutings. Okay, bro, you need to eat something.
Oh,
As a
man.
kid, you just want to stick to the regular, because it was novelty back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, hearing all this current, like I say this to people over here, when I talk to my mates, we all have lived the same life, but different timelines. That's what it is.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you touched upon it about, your dad telling you like we're moving to New Zealand. And obviously you mentioned like you had to look up where New Zealand is because it is quite far. Let's be honest. It literally feels like the end of the world when you're traveling to New Zealand from anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
It's not
man.
easy to get to it. And at that age you've already made some friends. You're like part of the society culturally. Like it's not a big jump. The language barrier is not there.
It
Even in
is and
this
it's
even
not,
in the
if you think
school,
about
you're
it.
like you have your
Yeah.
friend circle, right? So you don't have to go to a new school, make friends again. So that's quite a daunting thing that I found when we moved to New Zealand. It was like all of a sudden I was in a place where I had to learn again how to be cool,
And to readjust.
and yeah, exactly. That just that phase is quite, it can take some time, especially when you're that young. You're still figuring out the world. And then all of a sudden you're taken from one place and put into a place which is quite different. Like New Zealand and India, especially back then, were very, very, it's like chalk and
Very
cheese,
different.
right? They were so different.
Very different.
So how did you manage that? When you were, let's say you've moved to New Zealand, what were your first impressions of the place? What was your first day in school like? How did you navigate all the differences in cultural aspects, language, all of that?
I'll start with the news. Like, we touched on, we used to play at nighttime. So it was something like that. And at nighttime we were playing, in street, not far away. Then my dad came to get me, and obviously it was a bit late. And when I saw him, I literally just crapped myself. Because I was like, I'm probably in trouble, bro, because my dad's here to get me, then it's pretty late. We didn't have watches and stuff back then or phones. And then, but he's in a really good mood. And as we were walking home, he's like, we're moving to New Zealand. And my little, the reaction that I had was,
It's like that meme, right? Eh?
I, and I was like, where's that? And he had this look on his face, like a little bit of disappointment that why does my kid not know about New Zealand? For me, you didn't know about New Zealand back in '98, boy. And I'm like, I can't even point it on the map. Where the hell is it? And then he explained me, oh, it's near Australia and all. And then he knew about Australia. And oh, okay. And I'm like, when? And he's like, in about a few months. I'm like, yeah, but when? He's like, in 2 months. Oh, and then inside you just get confused and you freeze, hearing that, because you're like, what now? Because I don't know anything about move, the new place or anything. I don't know anything about this country, what it's going to be. What about my friends over here? I've got a life here. Yeah, you freeze, and I didn't really have too many thoughts. And then the next phase is you move here. And like I said, we moved here in December in summer. And as soon as you land here, you see people of different nationalities over here. You only used to seeing Indians, and your own brown people over there, and you come here, you see people of different nationalities. The first time you see anyone with Caucasian background, you just like stare at them like that. Yo, that person is so different. When you board a plane from India, you have all the Indians coming here, but as soon as you land in New Zealand, you see people of different nationalities, and you just keep staring at them. He's like, you see first if you see a Maori person or Islander person or a Caucasian person or even an African person, you just keep looking at them. That's the first shock you get, and the second is when they're speaking English to you, and even in that New Zealand accent, and then you're trying to make sense of it because you watched English movies back home on Star movies and all that, but they sound very different to
The
Americans. So
accent
what's
is
going
very
on there?
different. Yeah.
Very different, and because in your head as a kid, you have a heavy American influence, right? In India. And you think maybe they're gonna sound the same, but they sound very different. And I'm like, okay, this is very different. And then obviously, people came to pick us up. It was my dad's friend. And we went home. And on the way home, you see different streets, so much greenery, it's very clean. And you're like, where's the traffic? Where's the chaos?
Yeah.
And no one's honking. What's going on? It's so quiet over here.
It
And
was really weird. I remember that actually. My first day, we went out for a walk where we were staying, and it just felt very eerie. There was nobody around, there was no noise. All the cars were going without honking. There was just no noise. And I was used to, India has this background noise all the time.
all the time, that's
So
what I
I
meant.
found it very airy. I was very uncomfortable for the first couple of weeks, actually. I just thought, where have we come? There's no people here. Everybody, like, you don't see anybody after 5 o'clock. It's like a ghost town out there. There's nobody on the road, especially back in the, late 90s, early 2000s. Auckland was very quiet. There was never any traffic. There was nobody around. It was just weird.
E- Exactly the same thoughts, man. What I just mentioned, it was just weird seeing the chaos not on streets around you. And then you're like, why is everything so quiet? Like, do we have to be this quiet all the time? Like, can we not shout? Do we have to whisper? Like, as a kid, you think, like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And yeah, everything was just a bit too organized for your liking. And there's no kids playing on the streets.
Mm.
And I'm like, and I remember asking this question, can I go and play on the streets? My brother and I. And they're like, no, we don't play on streets over here. And I'm like, hi. But where do you play that? It's like, oh, there's dedicated parks and stuff. I'm like, okay. And yeah, man. Then adjusting to that life, meeting kids of same age that have been to New Zealand for a while, and obviously they've been Kiwified, if we want to say that,
Yeah.
um, and they're speaking to you in English, and then you're trying to make sense of it because you've just come from India, and
Yeah.
so there were no schools for 2 months. I came in December, so
Oh,
I
wow.
basically just enjoyed for 2 months, with family, friends, and everything. And then when school started, it was year 5 or year 6, I can't remember. And I remember going to school, being enrolled, and then my first teacher, his name was Mr. Francis, and I was in his class, and there was about 20, 30 students there, and different nationalities, and you're sitting there, and then they talk about the agenda of what's going to happen. In your head, you're stuck with the periods. How in India you had periods,
Yeah. Yeah.
maths, science, Hindi, or whatever. Over
Hmm.
here, it was very general. We'll do this today, we'll do this today, then later we'll play. And I'm like, okay. And I'm waiting for the teacher to change. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
not, it's just one teacher doing the whole thing. I'm like, how can you be good at everything? In India, you
Yeah.
have for 8 different periods, you have 8 different teachers coming, And that was like the first sort of different experience. The second was asking for basic things from kids next to you. So what is tea time? You get 2 breaks in New Zealand. You get
Yeah.
tea time and then you get lunch. And I'm like, okay, what do you do at tea time?
I was so confused with that as well. I'm like, so what? You just get to go and play, and then we get to play again?
Bro, it was weird because in India you used to get half an hour lunch
Yeah.
and you had to
Yeah. It
eat your
was about
food
half
and
an
play
hour.
and come back. And it was very academic driven in India, right?
Yes.
And then over here, it was basically, yes, there's a bit of study, but then you have tea time where you go out, either have a snack like a muesli bar, uh, or no, if you don't want to, not have anything, just go out and play. and then come back, and then an hour and a half or 2 hours is lunchtime. So you eat and you play. And it was 1 hour. So I was like, bro, you're getting 1.5 hour of just playtime. That's fantastic. So I was loving it. I was
Yeah.
loving it. There were some teething issues with some kids as well. Obviously you're adjusting and you can't speak like them. Or sometimes you can't understand them in the starting. So there's a bit of teasing, and you can call it bullying as well. In
Yeah, I
the
mean,
start.
bullying is very real, especially for that age.
Yeah.
If you're different, then, it happens. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, we all go through it, as migrant kids. It doesn't have to be Indians, but if you're from any other parts of the world, you all go through that adjustment phase, bullying,
Yeah.
teasing, adjustment. It does it does take a mental toll on you. You do feel um, a bit repellent on going to school. And but how do you tell your parents, who are themselves struggling with their
Yeah.
life of
There's a
adjusting
lot,
at the same
lot
time?
happening as a family. There's lots happening at
There's a
that
lot
point.
happening. So as a kid, you mature up very quickly, and you basically you want to adjust and take it all in, and basically handle all the problems by yourself without leaking too much of that issue onto your parents, which are, you know, trying to make a life out of themselves. Sometimes they're doing night shifts, sometimes they're doing early morning shifts, they're working different hours. In the starting, you don't have proper jobs. Like, they had fantastic jobs in India, and you come here, you do all sorts of jobs just to adjust. And
It's quite amazing, actually, how our parents just did that with kids. They just left everything, moved to a new place. They're
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to, start their careers again, but they also have kids to look after at the same time. And I think it's,
yeah, man.
as an adult, I really have appreciation for, all the hardships they would have faced at that time. As kids, we were
Absolutely, man.
sheltered a lot. We didn't know what was going on. We just had to get ready, go to school, come back. As you mentioned, the
Eat,
school was pretty
play.
easy. After coming from India, like, I think I didn't even study for 2 years because I had already studied everything in India. So I was just chilling every day in school, and, there was no such thing as homework. It was just playtime all the time,
Playtime.
really.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember this funny thing that happened in my first or second week where somebody was trying to tease me, and he asked me, like, do you think you're smart? But it was like a very aggressive way to be like, you think you're smart. And I just thought he just called me smart. So I said, oh, thank you. And I walked away. And I think the kid was so confused. He was like, wait, what? Because I just heard, like, he just said, you're smart. So I said, okay, thank you. That's very kind of you. And I just walked away. But, those are the things you're like, oh, you don't actually know what he means by that. And
yeah,
it was
yeah,
a big guy as well. Like, he could have easily beat me up, but I think he was just
yeah.
like super shocked with the reply.
Well, there's so many incidents that's happened with me in a very similar fashion as well at that time. When they're trying to imply something else, but you think, oh, it's probably a compliment, or they're just saying it in a nice way, and then
Yeah.
then you're stuck there in an awkward situation, trying to escape it. But yeah, like multiples. Yeah.
So
So yeah, man.
how long would you say it took you to then feel settled in school, New Zealand?
Well, the best part about that age is you adjust and adapt very quickly. So I'd say about a month or 2 months, and we picked up the accent, and you picked up the ways. You learn everything very quickly. That's the best part about that age when you're 8, 9. You're basically a sponge. So
Yeah, that's true.
and before you're conversating in with them properly. You understand their ways. You understand how things are gonna work, and the weird thing is you adjust or you adjust and adapt way quicker and faster than your parents did,
Yeah.
you know? And which is good and bad at the same time, because it's not their fault. They're trying to adjust, but they're trying to adjust to this new change into you as well, because you start to act a bit too Kiwi and this new person with them, and then they're trying to find themselves, their new life, and then they have to deal with you. So being a parent now, I just cannot imagine how they did it
Yeah.
with 2 kids, new country, n- new culture, and all that happening all at once. Maybe that's why they were pissed off the whole time.
It makes sense. I honestly don't blame them.
And we think, why are you guys always in that pissed off
Yeah.
sort of mood? Yeah, man. It makes sense now.
And then, so obviously you mentioned earlier, right? You guys stayed in New Zealand for about a few years, but then
Yeah,
you guys moved back to Chandigarh again after that. So that's another transition and adaptation phase for you while you were
yeah,
already settled in New Zealand. So that would have been quite difficult, right? Because now you're used to New Zealand and now you're being made to go back to
yeah,
Chandigarh
man.
and adjust to the Indian ways again.
Yeah, so obviously there's few things that happen on the family side that we had to move back. And my dad wanted us to basically get that education from India as well, because you know how you mentioned when you came here, you were the smartest kid in the class, right? So that's exactly what the same thing happened, you know. But over the time, when he realized in year seven over here or year six over here, they were teaching fractions, and he kind of got a bit shocked. And he was like, the kids over there doing algebra, you know. So he was still comparing, you know, the two worlds. And
Yeah.
there were also a few things back home for him to wind up. So I think that collective decision, well, I shouldn't say collective. I'd say the decision was made by them again, and they took us and they decided to basically move back for a few years, you know. And at that time, I was very uh, repellent to that idea of moving back, because you stayed there for 2, 3 years. You basically have changed quite a bit to the person that you are. You as you came, as you had come back then, and then going back, you were like, well, I don't know how I'm going to relate back to that life, you know. So, but we did, man, and moved back, and then what I feel is these countries, well, if you come from India, these countries mellow you down, they slow you down, they inculcate a lot of, I'd say, good civil behaviors in you. How do I was trying to put it into best sort of way, you know, but
Yeah.
you know, coming from India, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
Over
I
there,
think there's an expression that floats around, right? Like India is not for beginners because of things that
India's not
happen
for
there, the things you're exposed to at an early age. I think it's the sheer amount of people in the place as well. There's just so many people. So you need to be street smart. You need to know what's happening around you. It just makes you a very strong character in many ways. Like, you become street smart. Whereas in New Zealand, I think people were generally a lot more polite. There wasn't as many people to deal with. School wasn't as difficult.
Mm.
Like the curriculum wasn't as difficult. Obviously, the transitioning was for me anyway. And yeah, when you get used to that, then going back to India where you've already missed 2, 3 years of that schooling at that level, that would be a shock to your system, right? You're going back from, you were doing fractions and now you're going back to doing potentially calculus.
Algebra. But
Yeah.
no, you've actually hit the nail on the spot, man. Starting with the fact that India is not for beginners. When you're living there every day, because of the scale, because of the number over there, every day, unknowingly or subconsciously, is a survival. If you think about it, you know,
Yeah. Survival of
going
the
to school,
fittest. Absolutely.
survival of the fittest. You go into school, you have so many people on the streets. It's basically organized chaos. You know, it's survival every day. Over here, it's not basically the same scale. So you're not fighting to get something. Like if you go on a train station, you know, if I'm catching the 8 a.m. train, I'm going to get a seat. In India, you're not promised that. You know, you have to basically get there, technically fight for your seat, you know, or get into the crowd, you know, and make way for yourself. That's basically what it is. And so that sort of thought came to me, and it was a more like a shocking sort of thing, you know, when I heard that we're moving back now. And I was like, well, this is going to be interesting, you know. But you don't know that how India is at that age, you know, because you've forgotten about that life when you moved here. When you go back, you step back into that country, you realize, whoa, you know, how tiny you are compared to the number here, the mass number. So I feel like readjusting back in India was tougher than, you know, adjusting to New Zealand. It was very less forgiving. Yes, you had the comfort of home, your family, relatives, and, you know, you reinculcated with your friends that you left there. But everybody's moved on. Everybody's grown. So have you, you know. I actually went back to the same school that I left and readjusted. And I went into the class below my age, because obviously, there was academic difference that you had to cover up, and it's very different to how things are in New Zealand. So that happened. So the people that I was studying with basically were my seniors now. So that was the first kind of change. In, how can you call it? It was a bit of a inferiority thing. It's because the people that you've known are your same age are now ahead of you. And you basically have to call them bhaiya and didi. You know how in India is, bro. Anyone who is senior to you, you
Yeah.
have to give them respect. And I'm like, bro, I'm not doing that with these guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of hierarchy in India and everything, right? Whether it's school, whether it's your sports
Exactly.
team, the society you live in. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, and saying it at the same time, basically the class that was junior to you that called you bhaiya and didi are now basically your colleagues or your classmates. So it was a bigger shock. And then readjusting is a bit of a challenge. Language is not. You start to subconsciously um, think in English, when you go back, and then you start saying stuff in English. And, in India, like you said, it's not for beginners, bro. When you say something in English and accent comes up, people will mock you down to dirt, man. They wouldn't even leave a moment,
Yeah,
any chance,
like you
just
would
to
have to
mock you
speak English in an Indian accent on purpose so that you don't get
on
mocked.
purpose. Exactly. So I had to, and funny incident happened in India. Like, one of the teachers, I don't know how it was, and I said something in, like, it was the right answer. They had asked the question. I said something in an accent, and she's like, "We don't say that like that over here. And we say it like this." And I was like, "Okay." It's not just coming from your peers, bro. It's coming from everywhere. I don't
Yeah,
know what it was, but I never felt that in New Zealand. People are very sort of adjusting, especially the adults. They
yeah,
know
yeah,
you've come from a different culture, so they promote you. They try to, yeah, there's a bit of bullying, that can be dealt with. But in India, it's just a different game. But nevertheless, you find your ways as a kid. You've done this before, adapting, readjusting. So you find a way, and then before you know, within 6 months, you're back in the grind, man. You are back in India. So that was very difficult, weird. I can say weird and challenging at the same time.
And then
And
how long
before
were
you
you
know
there
it,
for? So how long did you go back for? Few
bro,
years?
we were meant to be there for 3 years, but one thing led to another, and I happened to complete my high school over there.
Wow,
And yeah, so I'd say the bigger chunk of my teenage life was in India, and those good, strong core teenage memories are from India,
nice.
and you can relate to all the things that happened early 2000, your teenage life, the emotions that come with it. It's all India, India. And I think that really helped to shape the person that I am today and how it
Yeah,
has connected me with my roots. So I'm very grateful for that as well, So I had to experience that and live that, but because otherwise I wouldn't have known. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have been this connected to India,
yeah.
um, as a person, because over the time, you do dissociate with that culture and you start to adapt to the new culture.
Yeah,
You know,
especially when you came at, you said 9 years old, right? You moved to New Zealand
correct.
first.
Very,
Yeah,
very
that's
young.
very
Yeah,
young. That's very young, to be honest, to
yeah.
remember much about that place. So that would have been a fun experience, though, doing high school in India. It's a very different vibe to New Zealand. I think it's a bit more stressful with the amount of study you end up doing. But I also think the fun aspect is, from what I've seen and heard from others, it's quite fun. You also have, a lot of good memories and experiences.
A lot of good memories, bro. I think one of the best memories is doing high school, from India during those years, making those core friends. I still have, three good friends from India that I keep in touch. You have
Amazing.
Facebook, Instagram, and whatever, so you basically can keep in touch with more, keep in touch, digital touch with everybody. But then you have those core friends then you're still in touch with, and we talk on a daily basis as well. But
Do
yeah,
you have a song that reminds you of that time, your high school years in India, or songs, or an artist you were listening to a lot?
I think, bro. I wouldn't say I was listening to a lot of Bollywood, but I'd say I was listening to a
Yeah,
lot of Punjabi music. You know me, bro. That it
yeah.
has to be
There's a lot of
Punjabi upbeat
Jazzy B
music.
at that time, I'm guessing.
That's it. That's it, bro. I was gonna say that. I don't know how you
Yeah.
know that.
No, no, I
Jazzy
remember that.
was my thing.
The 2000s in India, especially in Punjab, was just Jazzy B craze. And
Bro, it
then
was
towards
just
the
Jazzy
end, I
B.
think Lember came into the picture as well. So Lember was big in the late
Lambert was like
2000s.
2008,
Yeah.
7 kind of vibe, but at that time it was Jazzy B. And at that time, UK Punjabi scene was popping up.
Mm,
And there was a lot of artists from UK that you listened to. And one of them was Mesopuria. Then you have RDB.
that's right.
I
RDB,
don't
I
know.
remember
I
them.
don't know if I can just summarize the whole thing into.
Wasn't Jaggy D J Sean around that time too in the
Oh yeah,
2000s?
oh yeah.
Right?
That's exactly the same time these guys were coming up, and the
Yeah.
scene was just going crazy. I feel like Punjabi music scene back then was just something else, man. Something else. It was new for us, for Indians. These music coming from Canada, UK. So it was it
I
was,
remember
it was
being in
big, man.
India in 2005, and I think Jazzy B had released his Romeo album.
Oh yeah.
So that whole album for me is like my time in India in 2005. We were there for a month, and it was such a banger album. Even now, like if any of the track from that album comes on, it's a banger. Everybody's vibing to it straight away.
It's his time from 98 to 2008. It was all Jessibe. His albums were back to back hit, and every kid everywhere in North India knew Jessibe,
Jazzy B,
and
yeah.
he was the big thing. And so I'd say there's no one song, but there are songs, man, that channel your childhood. And every sort of phase has different songs. There's obviously a good influence from Bollywood as well. You know, those Imran Hashmi movies at that time,
Yes,
they were
they were pretty
killing it.
controversial for us at that age.
Very controversial, but we all heard the songs. We were not allowed to watch the movies, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still so like scarred by them that I still haven't seen some of them because I wasn't allowed to see them when they came out. So I still haven't
You
seen
would.
them.
It's so funny, man, how we all lived the same childhood. Like if that song ever used to come on MTV, you had to put the volume down because
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
this thing's not gonna float in the
It's
house.
Big and Hot Tere, right? That was just scandal song.
That's where it started, and we were so young for that kind of stuff. And but it was vibe. It was everywhere, man. It's not just TV. You go past shops, barber shop, street vendors. Everybody was playing it. So
Yeah,
basically, it's not us, trying to listen to it. It was just coming to you, and it was like a new wave of music that had come about. These singers that were like passionately romantic and had a lot of pain to them at the same time.
yeah. I mean, the
Obviously,
music was something else back then. I still listen to
it was
that
something
era, to
else.
be honest. It was
Yeah,
a really
I
nice
think
time for
2000s.
Indian music.
Yeah, 2000s is when Indian music definitely reshaped itself from 90s. 90s is a different vibe, and then 2000s different vibe altogether. It was different taste, different sort of flavor. And that sort of has been evolving until now. And you can still see people are still making remixes of that time, or they're making like the part twos or the continuations of those. It's not the same.
It's not the same, no.
As a millennial, we can just say it's not the same. You just have to be there to feel the
Exactly.
original.
Exactly. So I went to India 2005 and then I went back in 2010. So I missed that 5-year period in between. But I think that was around the time when Himesh Reshmiya came into the scene as well.
Yeah,
The
Himesh was,
late the
oh
late
man,
2000s, that was a craze. That was a craze.
Himesh was basically everywhere. I, I was like, as a kid, you're like, who is this guy in a hat? And he's, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how do you even explain this, right? You're like, this guy is everywhere. Like, he is basically on TV, he's on radio, he's basically in the car. Who is this guy? There was a curiosity around it, and his songs were back to back hits.
It was just bangers, man. He was just like he was on
Yeah.
a roll back then.
Yeah, it was just a beautiful time, and then there was KK coming in, and all these movies, man. Back then was so elite in Bollywood, like it's back to back. So I don't know, maybe times were simpler or innocent.
I think
We
we were
appreciate the
also
movies a bit
that
more.
age where, you start having a crush and these songs will always remind you of that first crush you had back in the days in school.
Yeah,
So I think there's always a
that's
special
a
place for that, right? Because um
feeling.
those years are very special for everyone, right? And I think the songs that we listened to when we were in love for the first time, or whatever you want to call it, it was a different time. It was a different time, and we still remember those times because I think it was the first time
Yeah.
we were experiencing those emotions.
Yeah, man. And as a teenager, because you're obviously going through so many changes, and every song had an emotion connected to it. And if you listen, like, I don't know how to pinpoint it, but every song you listen to it from that time has some sort of memory connected to it of that time, that year, with something. It's really hard to put it into context, but growing that time, you would know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
very,
then,
very,
how was it
yeah.
like when you found out that you have to now leave this place again to go back to the place that you left 2 years ago? This brings us to the end of the episode. Please join us for part 2, where we continue following Girish's life journey. Till then, see you next time.